live. Nice mic drop. How you doing, everybody? This is Jimmy Walnuts, and this is Church of Arm Wrestling podcast. One thing about, I don't get these things out every week, but every one of them special. And I'm honored to have today as a guest, Mr. Dave Marocco. Dave, how are you doing?
Good. I'm good. How you doing, bud?
To be honest with you, I've been going through a lot of life changes, man. And since I'm going to go with the flow here, I was in a relationship for a couple of years, and it's weird when the abuse comes from the other side, because I had never put my hands on a woman and never will, but she did a lot, and it was tough. So I try to, pretend I'm happy, and it gets hard. And eventually, when it's in time to go, so I did, and all this is that pretty much happened right before Waxahachie, which we can touch base on later on in this interview. But yeah, I just moved back to the city, and I'm with an amazing woman that's changed my life, and her name's Tao. It gives me butterflies just thinking about it, but not to get too much into that. I'm in a good place right now, and just kind of been laying low on social media a little bit to do this reset, because I'm not about putting content out for the sake of content. Everything that I put out is meaningful and has purpose. Not everybody's into it. I'm a little bit much for somebody, but for some people, but some people hear where I'm coming from, and I get a feeling you're one of those people, Dave.
Yeah. I'm pretty much going to tell you the truth when it comes to any question you ask me.
Yeah. Well, sort of the template that I use for the guests on the show for the first time around is I like to take a magic carpet ride, I call it, through your life. It helps me connect with you. It helps the audience also kind of go through your life. I have this kind of weird gift where I can, when you're talking about certain parts of your life, I can see like I'm watching the show for a few seconds. So I use that to kind of warm us up too. And then we get into the childhood years, the teen years, all that good stuff. We're going to dive into all that here with Dave today. So I want to start off with, did you grow up in Maryland?
Well, I was born in Washington, D.C. So first couple of years of my life, I lived in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
And then we moved to New Jersey for a couple of years.
What part of Jersey?
Rockaway, New Jersey. I was like first grade, kindergarten stuff. Mm-hmm. Then I actually grew up in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale.
Wow.
So that's where I grew up, and went to high school, and I didn't move to Maryland. I came up to visit my mother when I was 24. So I was all my teen years, from probably 7 years old to 24, I was in South Florida.
Huh. I did not know that. I thought you were up north guy.
No, that's where I grew up. And then, but I've been in Maryland now for 34 years. Oh, okay. That's how long I've been arm wrestling, 34 years. So anyway, went to high school down there at Boyd Anderson High School. I wrestled in high school, played a little football, played baseball when I was a kid, but I kind of went more to football instead of baseball. But then I kind of faded from football. I always liked the one-on-one stuff, wrestling, arm wrestling, a fist fight, if you will. But the one-on-one stuff was a little bit cooler to me because it was, I don't know, just a little different, man. It's if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. No, you're not dependent on nobody else, nor are they dependent on you. It's just you by yourself.
Yeah, I growing up played baseball, football, and track, and did all the team sports, and everything I learned about being a teammate, even a good employee, I learned from, basically football and baseball, and thought I had it figured out. And I never did the one-on-one sports. My dad was a wrestler, but he said that the diet and everything was too rigorous, and he had me do football instead. I wish I would have done wrestling, because even though not much, before MMA came out for wrestlers to do after college. I think it certainly helps out with real life situations. You know what I mean? Stuff you can take with you. I wish I would have done that. But when I started arm wrestling, man, it was like, what? Why did I wait so long? I mean, it's the only any kind of combat sport where it's one on one, even tennis or whatever. It's a one on one where it's you and there's no coach and there's no teammates. That's really raw. There's no excuse. There's no you were sitting on the bench. That's why the team lost and all that. It's you. There's no one to blame. It's you, and then you really find out who the hell you are if you stick around in this thing. That's why I mean, you hear the word weirdo in this sport, but we're all weirdos because we purposely put ourselves through that kind of pain, especially for many years. It takes a weirdo.
You're right.
But I'll tell you what, some of the best moments of my life, I've only been in this thing for a year and a half. Some of the best moments of my life, man. I really think that the sport is more about the fucking memories and the fucking the relationships than the damn sport itself. I love the people and that bond more than the actual arm wrestling. I'm juggling with that new paradox because it's not that I don't have that eye of the tiger up there. I mean, I guess if I'm being real, I don't have it right now. I mean, I have it, but I can't because I'm doing so many things at these events. I can't. I'll have my fucking headsets on, and I'll have to take them off and get right on the table, win or lose, and I gotta get right back on the headsets and be funny again. That's not fucking easy.
It's hard to switch gears. Like even when I run my own event,
yeah,
it's very, very difficult for me to compete and try to organize an arm wrestling event. It's too much, man. It's actually, I've never done well unless I have a super match before the event, and then I can relax and enjoy the arm wrestling because I like watching good arm wrestlers as much as I like competing myself. I really like, I love to watch high quality arm wrestlers or good matchups. I like to watch good matchups.
Yeah. There's definitely a feeling, I call it that thing, that connects you to that moment. And that's something that I try to still in my content so that the not only the existing people in the sport, but new people can feel it. Because I want the right people in the sport. I don't to just grow at it in the sake of numbers. I think you're saturating it. And I think to grow people that actually know what it's about, to show people what it's actually about, you'll attract more quality people, I think. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So, can we talk about your parents? What was your relationship like with them growing up?
So I grew up with my mother and my real father. Let's see, I was born in 1962. I want to say by the time I was 4 years old, maybe three or four, they were divorced. So my mother raised me, but she got remarried. And I really didn't know my real father. I knew him a little bit. I would go visit him until I was maybe 13 years old. And then he really never reached out to me. Once in a while, I would reach out to him. So I was raised by my stepdad, Scott Gosnell. And so he's really my father. He's the one that I call dad. He's the one, as far as I'm concerned, he is my father. So the other, my real father doesn't really know me. He doesn't know my wife, Lisa, doesn't know my son, David, or Braden, or Gary. He just doesn't know anybody. So, but my mom, she did what she had to. She grinded and took care of us kids, and she made it happen for us, man. She made our Christmases. We were kind of poor, but she made it happen, man. My mother was a complete beast, and she's been gone for 10 years now. But yeah, my mom was shoot, we're gonna get choked up. Very special.
Believe me, it's fine.
Yeah, my mom was very special. I think about my mother every single day.
Imagine that love you probably instill in your kids, huh?
Oh yeah, my boys, they mean the world to me. I worship the ground they walk on. My boys and my wife, That's what it's all about for Dave Morocco. Yeah, I've been with my wife for 26 years. Um, I have 3 boys, Gary, David, and my youngest one is Braden. He'll be 16 in a couple of months. And that's what I live for, man. I mean, that's what I do. That's what I live for. Watching my boys do their stuff, whether it be baseball, football, wrestling. That's above and beyond by a million times my arm wrestling hobby. My arm wrestling hobby is fun and it's cool, but it's not how I take care of myself. And that, the Travises and some of these other guys, arm wrestling almost defines them. Arm wrestling doesn't define me, doesn't define who I am. It's a hobby of mine, but make no mistake about it, I make my money abroad. Arm wrestling is cool. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love the sport, but it is a hobby of mine. And I don't need to make one penny arm wrestling. Is it cool to make money arm wrestling? Probably, of course it is, right? Go win 3, 4, 500, or John Brzenk, but I would look at John Brzenk and has he ever made over 40 grand in 1 year arm wrestling? I don't think so. And in 1 year, that's a lot, right? But it's not going to take care of anybody these days, So, but yeah, I live for my family. I watch my boys play baseball, football, wrestling. That's where it's at for me. That's where the excitement comes for me. There's nothing better than watching my children do their thing. And then I like that, I've helped all my boys develop from a strength standpoint. My son Braden is 15 years old. He's about to clean 290 pounds. He's the second strongest kid in the whole school. And he's only 15 years old. And he is just stronger than all the seniors except one in the whole school. But I from when he was a kid, I've worked and we've grinded and grinded and grinded. And so the motto here is, I tell all my boys, there's going to be someone bigger than you, stronger than you, faster than you, but nobody outworks you. No one outworks you. So my boys are special. They got that work ethic instilled into them. So, and then my middle son, David, he's 22. He works, he grinds all the time. And my 15-year-old, by the way, I don't even have to tell him anymore. He does it on his own. But I've instilled this from when he was 7 years old. Yeah. When he was 7 years old, he could do 23 chin-ups. So
how did you break him in with that discipline at 7 years old? Like, tell me something they would do where you'd have to discipline him and you see results.
Well, when he didn't want to do it at 7, 8, and 9, you got to nudge him, right? Or you say, here's a good example. Hey, man, let's go out. We're going to go work out in the garage. Braden or David, when he was a kid. Come on, Dad. I say, Braden, I'm not asking you to go out there and work out in the garage. So get up. We're going out there and working out in the garage. Now, if he would have been too much and I knew either one of my sons would have absolutely hated working out, I wouldn't have done that. But that wasn't.
You saw potential in them.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I knew what the deal was. Okay. And I asked all my boys, I said, look, do you want to be one of the team players on a baseball team or a football team? Do you just want to be on the team, or do you want to be a difference maker? Do you want to be a playmaker? And they all have the same answer. They want to be a playmaker. So to be a playmaker or a difference maker, there is a way to go about this to get to that point. Yeah. So we have to do this, and this consistently to get where you're at. And that's what my boys did. So yeah, I had to lean on them when I was a kid, and I would get flack from my wife a little bit. I'd say, "Son, this is for their own good. You think I would ever do anything to hurt my boys?" And I would hear from some of the arm wrestlers, "Oh, you're pushing him too hard. He's going to hurt his spine." Everything was conformed. All the technique is correct. So I had an Olympic weightlifter that really knew his shit come work with Braden when he was 9 years old, and he worked with Braden for about 4 months. So I learned enough technique, even though I couldn't do it, I could still instruct it. I learned enough technique because he was very expensive from this guy to get my son going on his own with the clean. So everyone thinks, if you lay on your back and bench press, this is, to me, this is overrated. I'm not saying this isn't a good movement, but it's overrated because now if you're a lineman on the football field and you're a big 300-pound line, okay, you need that push off your chest. But if you want to be an athletic, that hang clean from your knees, the explosiveness, the power, the fast twitch, your whole posterior chain, that's where it's at. And my son, so he deadlifts the weight. So the weight starts at his knees. So he's already deadlifted it. And then he lets it come down maybe a little bit below his kneecaps. And then he pulls that thing up as hard as he can and gets under it. His butt is about an inch off the floor. And then he stands up with it. And that is called a power clean. And he's about to do, he's right on the brink of to do 300 pounds. And if you don't know the lift, it's hard to appreciate how much weight that is, because that is a ridiculous amount of weight for a 15-year-old boy.
What is the average weight of, let's say, an average in shape guy at the gym? What would be an average weight, a workout weight for that, for our viewers that aren't familiar with, so we can show them the difference
at his same age group?
Yeah.
Okay, so at a 15-year-old kid, there's probably not many 15-year-old kids that can clean 185.
Damn.
And he's almost at 300.
So seeing all that,
you have to do this. It isn't something you just go off and pick it up, and it's like getting on the arm wrestling table for the first time. Yeah. It's actually worse than that, because there's so much technique involved, and you've got to get your flexibility. There's so much flexibility. So like me, or you, like me anyway, I would try to reverse curl the weight, and that's not how you get the weight up. You got high and you do all this. It's crazy, man. So there's a lot of technique involved, a lot of explosive, fast twitch fiber muscles to get that thing moving.
I imagine that's a very important exercise when you're a football player, when you want to drive through somebody.
Oh, there's probably not a better movement.
Yeah.
So clean, a squat, and a deadlift would be the three traditional. If I had three things to pick just to gain absolutely horsepower: clean, squat, and deadlift. And then if it was an upper body, if I had to choose just an upper body, I would probably choose chin-ups. I would say a chin-up is like, that would be my upper body movement.
So David is an all-state quarterback?
Yeah, he was David played he played football. They went to the state championship in 2014 when he was a junior in high school. And we lost 31-34 at the Raven Stadium. It was pretty cool. The experience was unbelievable. It was we were down by 11 points, and it was 4th and 7.
Were you on the field?
Yeah, I was on the field. Not on the field, but yeah, I was there.
Yeah. But I mean, you were on the field. So, I mean, was it pretty intense?
It was surreal. It was unbelievable.
I can only imagine what it was like for your son to be playing.
Oh, it was unbelievable. And then he throws on 4th and 7. He throws a 40-yard almost touchdown, went to the 6-inch line. So just the ice in his veins was just like, it didn't even faze him. That was 4th and 7. The game's over. And then we stopped them on 4th and 7, and they did not want to give the ball back to us.
Yeah.
And so they fake punted, and then they ran the clock out. So that was hard. I couldn't even talk the rest of the weekend. I went home and I went to bed. It was really hard pill to swallow, because they didn't want to put the ball back in our offense's hands, because David had threw 2 touchdowns and he ran 1 in the game. So it was I'll never forget that. It was a very good moment for my son and my whole family. It was really awesome.
Take this for whatever it's worth, man. But hearing the impact you've had on those boys, I'm really proud of you, even though we don't know each other. I mean, just as a father, as a man, as a human being. Not that there's not good parents out there, but all we hear about is negative shit.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
Our stories.
Crazy.
And to hear a good story like this, these are the things on my show that I love, these little gifts that aren't expected. I just wanted to let you know, a little tip of the hat. I respect you all 10 times more than I already did. That's really important. Our children are our greatest gift in this world. And when we treasure
Yeah,
them,
yeah,
yeah,
that's absolutely right. And then my stepson, so I have a stepson, Gary.
yeah,
So Gary's 33. So when I met Lisa, Gary was 7. So I was raised by my stepdad, but like I said, he's my father because I don't know my real father. So I was the perfect one because a lot of people have problems with a stepdaughter, a stepson, a stepfather, a stepmother. Sometimes it just doesn't work, right? It's just there's some friction there. So I think the same of little Gary as I do David and Braden. I love Gary to death. I would do anything for my son Gary as I would do for David or Braden. And he's been in my life for 26 years. And he played minor leagues in the Baltimore O's uh, in baseball. So he made it to single A. And then it just didn't work out for him. But he was a very good baseball player. Played at Towson, which is a Division I school, and he was a second team All American. I believe he batted like 417 as a senior with 17 dingers. So he was a second team All American. So Gary is he's my son also. I mean, he's part of my family. So the worst, you see all these tragedies and things that happen, and uh, the worst thing that could ever happen to me. I'm not trying to talk about bad things, but to outlive my children,
yeah. But that,
I would not be equipped. I don't know how I could do that. If something ever happened, God forbid, knock on wood. I mean, I feel for the parents that have outlived their children because the normal way of life is, your mom passes away before you do, then you pass away before your child. So, I just feel for people that have had to endure a loss of a child. I just can't even fathom it. I can't even fathom that.
the fact that you realize it though, probably makes you love them that much harder because you just never know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I keep a good eye on all my boys all the time. Like my 22-year-old, I call him at night. Like if he's at the bar drinking, he needs a ride home, I'll go get him. I play Uber sometimes with my son. I'll take him and his boys, I'll pick him up. I don't care where he is or what time it is. Me or his mother will go pick him up.
Yeah.
We're not getting into that, oh, something happened because of negligence. That's not going to happen here. I do everything that we possibly can. And then, a good man, the other part of me is a good man is you're half a man without a really good woman.
She's right here, and she is changing life in 2 weeks. I'm going through kind of a similar thing. She has a son, Adrian, probably the brightest 10-year-old I've ever met in my life. And we vibed right off the rip. He's cool, very protective of his mother. And you can tell that their bond is really strong. And I think that's really cool. And instead of him being a scared little boy or depressed or upset because, life circumstances, he's very strong willed, very smart. And I've fallen in love with both of them very quickly. His dad's in Florida, and but they have their issues seeing each other. And I'm not trying to be his dad, but man, if I just want to be a good positive influence on his life, and if it ended up becoming something like that, I'm the perfect guy for it because I've been through divorce and all my life. It's like all these negative experiences that we have in our lives. Why me and all this? Some of those experiences destroy people, and some of them reveal how strong they actually are. But it's not till certain things happen that you see all the pieces come together and realize that none of it was an accident. And I just can't believe I went from the situation I went to being with these two, because the love and just like I said, I've known her for a couple of years. We've been friends, but we've just started seeing each other, and it's just, I don't know. I can relate to what you're saying. Like even if he wasn't my blood, I love him just the same.
Yeah, just try to be the best male figure,
Yeah.
that you can for him. And I don't try to be my stepson's father. He has a father, but I
It's gonna be
try to be his. I am somewhat his father. So I
yeah. I
just
mean,
don't try to take his place. I'm not doing that, but
but
he can reach out to me for anything. He can call me for he'll call me before he'll call his mother sometimes, and if he needs me for anything, I'm right there with him.
you know what he said to me? He goes, "We're still feeling." I'm a pretty easy guy to get along with, but I can see him being skeptical, because it's his mom and being protective. So I try to crack the jokes, make him laugh a few times. We had some laughs, but we were at Atlantic City. We were playing on the arcade, and he comes up. I think it was there, but it doesn't matter where. But he says, "Hey, man, come here. Listen, let me tell you something." He goes, "My mother's really awesome." He says, "My mother's the best, and if you don't realize it before you mess up, that's shame on you." And I was like, "Well played, young man." I said, "Well played." I said, "I do know how special she is. I haven't messed it up yet." So I said, "We got a chance." But that gumption from that 10-year-old kid, he's got something, man. He's going to be special down the road. I can see.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's very cool.
Yeah. You're Native American and Italian, like myself.
Mm-hmm. Sioux,
Dude, yeah.
Sisseton Wapton Sioux, the border of North Dakota and South Dakota
Yeah.
is where my reservation is.
Have you can you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, yeah, I can tell you. So my grandfather was the superintendent of the Seminole Indians. He was Sioux Indian, so
Yeah.
he was the superintendent of the Seminole Indians in Davie or Hollywood, yeah, Davie, Florida, down in South Florida. So the Indian comes from my mother's side. So I'm mostly Sioux Indian. I have a little bit of Shoshone Paiute also, but mostly Sioux and a little bit of Shoshone Paiute from my grandmother. So I'm very proud of my heritage. My dad, my stepfather that I grew up with, which again, I'll keep telling you, he's my father. He's the one that told me, you got that Indian blood in you, son, that makes you special. And I honestly believe that, and I still believe it now.
Me too.
So the Indians were warriors. So when you look at white men against the Indians, they had to get the guns and stuff. So it was just like an Indian was a guy that learned how to fight from a child, right? So I just believe that being Indian or having that, I'm very proud of my heritage. When I first moved up here, I haven't done it in a while, but I used to go to powwows quite a bit. I've been
Can
to
I
a
go
lot
to
of.
one with you someday?
Oh yeah.
Or do you have to be like special invites?
No, you're good. Anyone can go to a powwow.
I would love to.
And
All right.
like like my wife reminds me, my wife has a little Indian in her too, but just my opinion, an Indian woman they don't need any makeup, right? It's just I've been to some powwows where it's like, whoa, they are just the skin color, the tone, the no makeup, they're just absolutely beautiful. But Indians remind me of nature, right? They lived off the land. A tent is temporary. A teepee is a house. A teepee is that's what we used to camp in. A teepee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you can make a fire in a
You
teepee
build the
because
teepee or can you buy
no, we
them?
didn't build it. We had to order the teepee, but a
So
teepee is no joke, man.
you can buy them online?
Yeah, you can buy a
What?
teepee.
You can buy
Yeah,
teepees online.
yeah, a teepee, a really good teepee is probably about $1,200. It's pretty expensive.
And you can live in it?
Yeah, you can live in a teepee. That's what a teepee was for, to live in, not to just camp out in on a weekend. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm proud of my Indian heritage. I always thought I had a leg up on your average white man. I'm not trying to down anybody, but I just always thought I had a leg up on your average person because I
Oh,
just
you
have
got
that blood in me.
when you go out in nature, you
I feel
feel it?
connected.
Nice.
I feel more connected. So I I don't do it all the time. I used to do it quite a bit, but just centering myself or
Yeah,
maybe 20 minutes to myself, a little meditation
I
where I'm
do
just
those.
by myself and I breathe and focus on my breath, listening to the birds. And,
Yeah,
just stuff like that is just, or when I go camping, like away from the city, the horns, the vehicles, the smog, just when I go into nature itself. And I think it's a proven fact that us as human beings, when we're with nature, we're more connected to our real selves.
yeah.
And that is a fact. I just feel so much better when I get away from the beaten path and just get out to nature, just hearing the wind blow on the leaves and just, I can just think about it and just feel good.
I know. I just took a big inhale, exhale from that. Yeah. Yeah. I go out there. My brain's always firing a million, 100 miles an hour, and it's not good. It has its gifts and curses, but
You got to step outside of the box, so to speak, once in a while.
yeah,
We're always inside this box. Blah, 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 blah. We're always in there. This is always something. Once in a while, you got to step outside the box to get a different perspective. And like a vacation, I think about every 3 months or so, every 12, 3 to 4 months, you should at minimum take a long weekend, take a Friday off, and do whatever you want for 2 or 3 days, and then it'll help you recharge.
yeah. I've lost myself a few times from
Mm.
not doing that. So it's very important. The beach, nature. There's a place in
Beach too.
Central.
I love the beach. The just the waves crashing.
Yes. Hey, how far are you from the beach where you're at?
Um, I'm about 2 hours and 15 minutes
Yeah.
from Ocean City.
Yeah. And I totally feel what you're saying about that. I love it. It's saved me from a lot of anxiety and depression going out there, just turning, I call it turning on the TVs off. Just find a place that resonates with you out there. And yeah, man, just sit out there and just clear your mind, come back, recharge. That's like nature's medicine. It's like God's medicine right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's right there. Every one of us can get to that special place. It's right there under our noses. We just don't know it. There is something to be said about stop and smell the roses. I know people think it's a joke. It's not a joke. You stop or just uh, be with yourself, center yourself, nurture yourself.
Yeah. I always say that, when I hear people talking about relationships, looking for love or whatever, but they don't love themselves, or they're having problems where they don't have their shit straight. And I always tell them, you gotta learn to love yourself the way you want to be loved, so that person can, kind of. I feel like if it'll find you when it's ready. People make a lot of mistakes, not being ready for that kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I was told to ask you a question from Paul Lynn. Switch course here a little bit. When's the best age to let kids start lifting weights?
Well,
He says you have a different perspective.
yeah, Braden. So my youngest. So Gary. So I'll start from the oldest down to the youngest.
Yeah.
So Gary, he probably started lifting weights when he was probably 12 years old. We started getting into strength training. So, and then David, he probably started about 9 years old. We started strength training. And then Braden, he was 7, maybe 6, but probably 7 before. So we were doing calisthenics at 6 years old. Braden was doing sit-ups, chin-ups, and push-ups. And then we started doing the cleans, and we started doing the kettlebells and just like PVC bars, PVC pipes with no weight, just learning the technique, probably at 7 years old. So Braden started at 7, but a lot of people say, "Oh, you can hurt the what are those things that grow on your joints? The plates, the growth plates." So the growth plates, oh, you can hurt the growth plate. Oh, yes, I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could if you're maxing out as a young child. But if you are under good supervision, if you teach a kid how to do some resistant training correctly with good form, it's going to make him smarter in the mind. There's been some tests where they've had twins, right? More than one set of twins, 5 or 6 different sets of twins. One of them worked out, one of them didn't. You know, the one that worked out all the time was taller than the other one. The one that worked out all the time was smarter than the other one. And obviously he was more physical than the other one. So there's plus, 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 plus. There's no cons. The con is if you try to put on a 7 or 8 or 9 or 10-year-old too much weight, or bad technique. Okay, that's understood, right? So how do you know the one thing that we let our kids do, where we should not even, a kid shouldn't even think about throwing a curveball till he's like 15 years old. But we let these kids throw a curveball and snap off a curveball with that rotator cuff when they're 9, 10 years old. Why is that so good? Right? It's a double standard. Oh, that's cool to throw a baseball. But throwing a baseball overhand is so unnatural, it's unbelievable. That's why those softball, the girls that play the softball, and underhand, they can pitch as much as they want. You're not going to hurt.
They can pitch every damn game if they want.
Yeah, they could pitch 300 pitches in a weekend, right? They can. So my thing is probably about 7, 8 years old, under good supervision, and you're right with him. So I sent a lot of videos, or showed a lot of videos of my boys doing their stuff, but no one saw the videos when my boy, because I didn't put those videos up. Maybe I should have. When he started to fold forward his back and his spine wasn't like it should, and I take the weight away from him immediately and say, all right, we're going to go down in weight because your form is not right. Your form has got to be money for us to go up in weight. I am not going to teach you how to, just like anything. You teach someone how to do it the wrong way over and over and over and over. What good is that?
No.
So good technique, proper form, proper weight. I think a kid can start doing resistance training at 7, 8 years old.
Now, is this something that you, like an experiment that you've done, or has anyone else found success doing this?
Yeah, it's not. I'm not the one that started this.
Oh, okay.
You can look under the whatever it's called, the pediatricians, blah blah blah, under the United American Society of Pediatricians or whatever. I don't know the exact name, but it says that you can successfully do resistance training. You just got to watch the amount of weight, and a doctor isn't going to know. It'll say under supervision, but you just got to have correct form, as of anything else. You got like when you're arm wrestling, right? See my arm? If I get my shoulder this side of my arm goes that way, my arm's going to break with like 8 pounds of pressure. So I know to keep my shoulder behind my arm, right? So if we do bad technique right here and you go like this and look away from your arm, that doesn't take much to break it, right? So it's just like anything else. You got to be technically sound.
Well, yeah, I as long as you're doing it right.
And I've heard a lot of flack too growing up. Oh, Braden, especially my youngest one. Oh, Braden is back. Oh, Braden this, Braden that. My son, Braden, is stronger than all of them. He's probably one of the strongest freaking teenagers on the East Coast, period, with cleaning weight. He is a freaking phenom. And I'm not just saying it because I'm his father. I'm just telling you the truth. He's put the work in. And he's not hurting anywhere. He doesn't have a disc out or none of that. He is in alignment.
He's got a head start on his
he's way ahead. Yeah. So when you're 13 to 19 years old, you got to take advantage of that, right? You got to take advantage of that. It's you got so much testosterone in your system. You have to take advantage of that. Than someone trying to start lifting weights at 15. I'm not saying you can't start lifting weights at 15, and by the time you're 20 years old, you'll be a freak. but it's going to be really hard pressed for someone to gain ground on someone that's been doing it since they were 9 years old correctly and with good form and with the most important part, intensity.
Yeah, and that's not something that's instilled overnight. So
Mm-hmm.
that's Paul Lynn was saying because
I got another quick story for you. This is just what my boys, just a little small little story.
go for it.
So David, my 22-year-old, he was probably 11 years old. So it was in baseball. So they used to run after the base. It was indoors because it was in the winter. So they used to run for like 10 or 11 minutes at the end. So the kid on the team, this guy AJ, he took first place and David was second, right? And so, and I'm cool with that if that is how it should be going. But I didn't think that's what should have happened. So when David got done, we got in the car. I said, David, you need to press AJ. Now, if you press him and try as hard as you can, and you're the second fastest in that whatever mile run or whatever you want to call it, mile and a half run, then that's fine. But put some pressure on him because I know he doesn't have the heart you have. He does not have the intestinal fortitude that you have. So David said, are you sure? I said, yeah. So he said, okay, Dad. So the next time they ran, the next week, David pressed. So the kid was out front, same kid, and David pressed. Do you know that kid folded like an accordion? And David beat the brakes off of him. And David never lost to him again because David's got this heart. You can't teach this. This is hard. This one thing right here, some people shy away from this.
No, a lot of people.
The intestinal, and when things are rough, you don't find out who you are. It's easy. You find out who you are when things are not going your way. When you're on the mound pitching and you can't get your fastball over for a strike, or you've thrown 2 interceptions and you have the ball in your hand to win the football game after you've had a hard day, that's when you find out who you are. Not when things are going your way. When things are going your way, that's easy. All freaking failure is just a stumbling. Failure are just blocks to success. That's all it is. You have to fail to be successful.
Yeah, and it helps you appreciate the.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
That much more.
Yeah, that's correct.
I've learned over the years that the painful stuff we go through is very, very necessary. And the ones who don't experience, the ones who are like spoon-fed or just have easy lives and everything's great are really weak people because they don't know what it's like to struggle.
Mm-hmm. And what is courage? Courage is being afraid and doing it anyway, right? That's what courage is. Courage is being afraid and doing it anyway.
You have no idea how much I needed to hear that right now.
Yeah, that's what courage is, man. Be afraid and do it anyway. Ain't no feeling going to stop me from doing what I want to do. It's just not going to.
I love it.
Especially if it's something I really want to do. If it's something I really want to do, but I'm apprehensive about doing it, I'm not letting that shit stop me. Some anxious feeling or some stupid ass thought. I'm not going to let that stop me from doing what I want to do. And we all know our mind can be very powerful in trying to play games with us.
I'm very, very skilled at getting in my own way. I'm trying to unlearn that. I'm doing pretty decent. But yeah. I've being 0 for 4 in a fucking big game and you're up and you got to get the hit to win the game. I've come on the losing end of that a few times, doubting myself, because I'm so worried about if I get another out this time, what I mean? It's like I'm already thinking about it. So
sometimes things are just not going to go your way. You can be in the best shape of your life for whatever sport or whatever you're trying to accomplish, and it's just not going to go your way. That is just life. I'm going to play football. I'm going to be the best football player. I'm going to play baseball. I'm going to bat 800. If everything was like that, it would be boring, right? Why do you think it's so cool when you hit a baseball in the major league? Because it's very difficult to hit a round ball with a round bat, right? So Yeah, I think just being, failure, are just stepping stones to success. That's all that is.
Let's jump
It's
into
what
the.
you do with the failure. It's not the so just real quick. It's not
Oh,
the error that you make at shortstop when the ball's hit to you. It's not the error. It's what you do after the error, right? It's not the interception. It's what do you do after the interception?
yeah.
So that's what you don't let an error define who you are.
Yeah, I'm
It's how do you respond from making a mistake.
a lot of people, including myself, have gotten hung up on that mistake. It takes away from what you need to do after. That's a great point. You've been
Mm-hmm.
arm wrestling. You've been in sport for like 30 plus years.
30 coming up. I'm about a month away from 34 years. I've been arm wrestling 34 years since 1987.
I know this is cliche, but how did you find the sport? 'Cause I've
Well,
into.
as I said, I grew up at high school in Fort Lauderdale, and I actually just came up here to Maryland to visit my mother and my brother and my sister. So I was just coming up here to visit. So I flew up here, and while I was up here, my mother said, "Look, David, there was a an arm wrestling tournament at the Glen Burnie Mall, a mall that was right around the corner from us." So my mom knew that I liked to arm wrestle and stuff, and I did it in high school for fun. I never went to an event or anything, but
Yeah.
I used to always arm wrestle and stuff, just fooling around with my friends. So anyway, I went to the tournament. It was just a little local thing, small thing. So I took third place, and the guys came to me and said, "Man, you could be really good if you started training with us." So that's where it started, and that is what originally kept me in Maryland, and the rest is history. So here we are 34 years later. But arm wrestling is what originally kept me from going back to Florida, because I would have never stayed here, uh, you know, if it wasn't for the arm wrestling event.